What up, what up? It's Garage Gym Homie, man. Today I'm just talking about a little bit about my experience, going to prison. And is it worth it? Before we get into this here, please click the subscribe button. I got content coming out all the dang time for you, man. So click subscribe and let's get into this. I've been posting on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you can, Garage Gym Homie. And I posted a question. People, I said, ask me anything, whatever. I like interacting with people. That's why I got into the channel. And somebody said, will you do more videos about like your past stories, man, and your past experiences? So I said I would. So here I am. I want to talk about, there's no real deep message or point here except to let my viewers know a little more about where I come from, what I've come through, and what I've been through that's molded me into being the person that I am today. So in 2000, when did I go out to LA, man? After my mom died and I was age 21, I left out a little bit after, ran away from legal stuff in Michigan and went to California. Ended up out in California for dang near almost 8 years, man, running like a maniaco out there. So right after I got out there, I got arrested. I sat in LA County Jail for 6 months, and I took a deal finally. After 6 months of going back and forth to court, they tried to send me to state prison. I took a deal for felony probation for a couple drug sales charges. And this was right after I landed out in Los Angeles, out there in Studio City, California. Anyway, so I was on felony probation out there. I'm sick, man. I'm an untreated addict, running wild out there in California. So a couple years after I've been out there, I kept getting charges, and I met some dude, and we went out to cop some dope in the valley out there, and I was hooked on heroin, man, and I had just gotten out of jail previously for some, I can't even talk about it, but anyway, I'll talk about it in another video. Anyway, I done felony probation. I went with this guy out there to cop some heroin. He got out of the car to get the dope, and the freaking cops swarmed up on the car, man. Swarmed up on the car. What happened was the drug dealer got arrested, and the cops sat on the drug dealer's phone and started setting up drug deal. Everybody who texted him to meet up for dope, the cops were pretending to be him and were arresting all the customers, man. Did a dope deal. My boy got back in the car and they arrested him for attempted possession, they called it, attempted possession. So it was an opportunity for them to arrest all the customers and find it, and if anyone had warrants. So they took me over to the Van Nuys police station, and they're like, we'll let you go. We just want to run a warrant search, and then we'll let you go. I'm like, oh shoot. So I got warrants out, I've been absconding from felony probation, and so I had felony warrants out in California. So they said, oh, we found that you're on felony probation, you have warrants, we're going to keep you. So I go in front of a judge. So they take me to LA County Jail. Now I'm dope sick. I'm detoxing in jail, which I'm going to make another video about detoxing off heroin in jail and what that's like. Besides just saying it's hell. And anyway, so I go over to the courthouse, which for some reason was downtown LA. It was too overcrowded or something, so they transferred cases instead of the Van Nuys courthouse, which is where the arrest was. They took us to downtown LA. So I'm going from LA County Jail to downtown LA to go to court. So I go to the arraignment. They tell me, though, I'm not just there on the new charge, I'm also there on the violation of probation for the felony, because I violated probation. I violated felony probation by picking up a new drug case, so it's not a good look, man. So anyway, they tell me, they're like, look, you know, what they do is they assign you what we call a public pretender. You know, it's a public defender. And they're like the most garbage lawyers ever, man. They don't even know how to match their dang suit, most of them. And they pretty much are just a mouthpiece for you. So they're like, oh, I talked to the DA. You know, they're offering you this deal. Are you going to take it? And you're pretty much your own lawyer. You're like, no, I'm not taking that. And I'll go back to jail for another month till they set a new court date. Hopefully next time they'll offer me a better deal. That's the game they play. They offer you a deal, you take it or turn it down. You go to court, they offer you a new deal until the deal's low enough for you to that it's something you're willing to live with. So right away, man, I went in front of there, and they're like, they're offering you the 1.5 years in prison. And I'm like, okay, am I willing to do that? And I thought about it, man. I'd done the game where I go back and forth to court, and I've talked to the jailhouse lawyers, we call, you know, all the people who are there pretending to be attorneys, all the other inmates who know everything about everyone's case and this and that. There was just no way out of going to prison, man. There was just no way around it. I violated felony probation with multiple sales charges by picking up new felonies, even misdemeanors. I wasn't going to get out, and I absconded probation. There was no way I was getting out of going to prison, man. So, I took the deal the first time I went to court, man. I said, yeah, well, let's run that prison sentence. And then I asked the public pretender, there's this thing called forthwith. You say, ask the judge if they could do forthwith, which means like speed up the process of going to prison. You know, so I'm in LA County Jail now, and I'm hoping that they'll speed up the process so they'll take me to prison like as fast as possible, because LA County Jail is hell. It's the worst place I've ever been in my life. I mean, out of every rehab, out of all the jails, out of the state prisons, out of everything, LA County Jail is the worst living. It's the worst place that I've ever lived, the worst living conditions I've ever been in. I mean, aside from, I guess, homelessness, which is, I felt safer homeless than I did in LA County Jail. It's just the worst. I can make videos describing it, but I'm not going to go into detail. It's hell on it. It is the worst. So anyway, so it takes about 6 weeks from getting sentenced. Everybody pretty much knows that I'm going to be sitting in LA County Jail for about 6 weeks from the time I'm sentenced till the prison bus picks you up. So the prison bus comes, you know, every night to pick up a group of inmates to take them to whatever prison all around the state of California. There's like 50 of them. And, you know, so every night I'm listening for my name, and you know, hoping that they'd take me out of there, you know. And so in the meantime, man, like there's this guy named Trouble who I was in the dorm with. I was in a dorm with like had to be a couple hundred people. I forgot the name of the dorm. If somebody told me I would remember. But I was in the dorm in LA County Jail, and there was a guy there named Trouble. He'd been to prison about 7 times, man. He's an old meth head, and he was a real criminal, man, like career criminal. The dude had a resume. And he took me under his wing, man. Nice white boy. Not white boy. He's an old man, like an OG, who took me under his wing, took a liking to me, and was preparing me for prison. Don't get funny ideas, homie. He didn't take a liking to me like that, man. That stuff does not go on. I don't care what you say. That stuff does not go on in California. Any of that weird, they do what's, I'll talk about it in another video. Let's just put it that way. But I'm getting off on a tangent. Anyway, man, so Trouble was he was from one of the valleys, not San Fernando Valley, I forget which valley out there in California. And he'd been to prison many times. So he's like, man, I feel like it's my son going off to war. He's schooling me, man, about how to act on the yard, how to act in prison, respect, all sorts of things, man, that he was trying to prep me for in prison, man. So I don't know if I was scared in a sense. Once you've been to LA County Jail, I guess I was scared because you never know, man. You could have a white boy in prison who's been running the yard for, 20 years, man, who passes you a knife and says, I need you to take care of something. You never know what's going to happen. You want to stay busy in prison, they'll keep you busy in prison, man. I mean, prison, you never know what's going to happen. Just like you never know what's going to happen in LA County Jail, man. I was in a racial riot there. I made a whole video about it. It was the scariest time of my life, man. I mean, the scariest time, the racial riot, it went off in my dorm, man. A dorm with 150 people, everyone rioting, man. Blacks versus Mexicans, everybody, man. I mean, it was nuts. Go watch my video on it if you want to know about it. So anyway, so finally they call me on the prison bus, man, and they take me off to prison. I went to North Kern State Prison, which is also known as Delano. And this was a real prison, man. I forgot how long it was of a drive. I don't know if it was an hour from the jail or what, I forget. But a lot of this is foggy. So I'd already detoxed now off heroin. I'm feeling good again. I'm putting on some of that jail weight, And they take me in the bus, and I go to prison, man. I go to what's called reception. And reception is at Delano, where they classify you, man, by your security level. They want to know who they're dealing with. So now the state's taking over from the county, and they go through. So I'm not the lowest security level, even though my crimes are drug-related, even though they're felony drug sales-related crimes. Low, they're semi-low, risk level. I'm not from California, so my security level wasn't the lowest there was. I don't have a California ID, so I'm kind of seen as what they call a flight risk. They got to watch out for me because I'm freaking crazy, homie. No, for real, though. So they take me to North Kern, man, and I'm in booking, and you go through this whole process, man. This whole process, I mean, you just want to pretty much, you're just excited to get there because that right when you get there, your time starts. Unlike prison in Michigan, where you see the parole board after a certain amount of time, and then they decide if they let you home or not. California's not like that. The day you get there, they hand you your out date. This is the date I'm leaving. Unless you catch more crimes in prison, which is very common. You could commit a murder in prison, end up, I mean, it's just the truth, man. Not me, but, you could end up doing 5 years in prison, turns into a life sentence because of whatever anything can happen in prison, man. It's a crazy place. So I'm just like kind of, I'm keeping my guard up now. I already know, like, at this point, how to behave in jail, how to have respect, how to be a white boy or a wood in jail and in prison. I know how to act. And so they take me after this whole day of reception, and I get my own cell, man. I get my own cell. Man, that cell was like that was like heaven for a minute, man, because I was used to these beds that were literally this thin in LA County Jail. The worst beds that you've I can't even call it a bed, man. This thin. And you get to prison, they throw you in your own cell, and you got a mattress, man, this freaking thick now. Like a nice mattress that's thick as heck. They can't treat you the same way in prison that they treat you in jail because people are spending so much time there. And that freaking cell had a light switch, homie. So you can flip the lights, and you're freaking, it's pitch black in there. So that is quite a change from LA County Jail, because now I can freaking sleep as much as I want. You know, it's quiet, it's peaceful. I had my own cell. I didn't have a bunkie in there. And I was in there for 2 weeks, solitary confinement in my own cell. The only time I got out was for like 15 minutes to shower, to eat the meals, shower, and go on the yard for a few minutes at a time. I don't even remember really going on the yard from that solitary, man. I was really only in that cell coming out to eat and to shower at that point. And so I just remember, man, back when I was jerking still, I mean, that was all I did in that cell for 2 weeks. I had one book that I was able to get my hands on. I forgot how. I remember reading like 3 pages a day because I didn't know how long I'd be in that cell, and I knew I wouldn't get access to any other books. I remember stretching that freaking book out. Normally, I could read a book a day in jail or prison. You know, I've read so many freaking books. I remember stretching those pages out because I was so scared to run through that book, because I knew I couldn't get my hands on another one because it was in that solitary circumstance, and I was still at reception where they're classifying you. So, you know, they take you out of the cell one day, you're like going through medical, doing everything. I don't know if they vaccinate you. I don't remember what they did. TB test, all sorts of medical stuff. It takes half the dang day. Put you back in the cell, jerking, sleeping, doing push-ups. Had no concept of time. I remember sitting in that cell, and I had the craziest thought. I remember sitting in that cell after 2 weeks and thinking, I've been in this cell by myself for 2 weeks, and I haven't once been bored. For some reason, there was no TV. I had the one book that I was reading. It was just me and my thoughts and push-ups and the bed. And I remember thinking, I can't believe I didn't have the feeling of boredom once. I remembered from then on, I knew I would never be bored again in my life. I remember that so freaking, I just remember that so vividly. So then finally, man, they took me out of the cell and they put me in a dorm. And this was a big freaking dorm, man, like 2 levels. Blacks, whites. I had a white cellie who turned out to be a really cool guy who was from North Hollywood or something. Really, we became really tight. I got a job in there as a porter, cleaning the freaking the officer's office every night, and I had access to the lunches, and I stole hundreds of peanut butter packs every night, and I'd bring it back to that dorm in reception, and I would freaking sell them, man, for like ramen noodles and stuff. Some people were starting to get store and stuff who had money on their commissary. I met a guy in LA County Jail. I had $100 on my commissary, and I didn't find out till after the prison, man, that this guy I met in jail put money on my books. He knew I was going to prison. Shout out to my homie. I'm not going to say his name. He has a big Instagram, and he's a real G, man. He put money on my books. And I didn't know who put the $100 on my books till afterwards. And anyway, man, so I was slanging those peanut butter packs. I didn't really want to leave reception, man. I was having a good time in there with my bunkie and some of the people around me. And so I was there for like 6 weeks, I think, before they moved me. And the food was so freaking good. I remember it was like rehab food, just great, just solid food. I mean, compared to LA County Jail, I was like, oh my God, this state food is freaking amazing. Like hamburgers, pancakes for breakfast, freaking pizza night, this, that, whatever it was. It was such a freaking upgrade being in state prison. Now, the stakes are higher. People get killed in prison more than, you know, they get killed. Anything could happen in prison, but it was much more comfortable living. You know, you're outside for a lot of the time. you know, this and that, that and this. So finally, man, they classified my security level and they moved me to another prison in Bakersfield, California. And hey, man, that's when the fun started, man. That was a very crazy time, man. And I'll make another video about what my time in prison was like. That was called my main yard. That's where I stayed for my whole time there. I'm going to make a video about what prison was like. But that's what going to prison was like for me, man. That's what going to prison was like. And so I just wanted to put you guys up on some, you know, a little bit about where I came from. That was my experience going to prison. So I'm going to make another video about my experience in prison, because there was a lot of craziness that I dealt with, man. I got to gather my thoughts for that one, man. So I want to let you guys in. So, I mean, that's really where it's, you know, a bunch of stuff happened, you know, when I was in prison. And I'll be glad to let you guys know. So God bless all you, man. That's it. Together, let's get this dang muscle, man. I'm out.